Right, so I am going to turn off my video now. Hijab, it's over to you.
Just give me a second. I'll just move to this background. Does that
Right,
look fine?
that looks good. So we are going live in three, two, one, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
We're online.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's local session titled Using Evidence to Optimize the Rollout of a Nutritional Product. I'm Hijab Tahir. I'll be the moderator for today's session. I'm currently the project manager for one of the projects at SIR. I will start today's session with a brief introduction and background of the nutritional product that we'll be heavily discussing today, and move over to the introduction of our esteemed panel of fellow colleagues from different organizations. And then we'll be opening up the floor for all of these to express and share insights on different successes and different challenges that they've faced over the last 1 year in the implementation and the rollout of this set nutritional product. So the product that we'll be talking about today is called Velma, and it's been targeted for pregnant and lactating women across different districts in Pakistan. The nutritional supplement is a balanced energy protein, and it's currently undergoing a market test in two urban districts of Rawalpindi and Karachi, and three districts of Bahawalpur, Qamar Shadad and a newly expanded district in Sindh called Jigarabad, which we actually will be launching in from this week onwards. I'll be sharing my screen as well so we can have some visual aids in the background. Moving on, the program, the nutritional product has evolved heavily over the last 1 year, and we've expanded, as I mentioned, into a new district recently. And the goal of the project is to raise awareness of Velma's benefits and make it easily accessible and available to women of underserved areas of the rural districts and urban districts, of those especially who are pregnant, lactating, or undernourished. In urban districts, we have been collaborating with different healthcare professionals and using pharmacies as a reach point for women and other family members to get Velma from. In the rural mode model, it's been closely, conducting door-to-door visits to all the households and the communities, and also reaching out through these community sessions that Asasaf will be shedding more light on. During the discussion, all the online participants are encouraged to weigh in, share their insights, drop in their thoughts, whatever questions you have for either of the panelists that we have today. I would just request if you can also, with your name and have your affiliation, so we can have more directed conversations and we can bring more visibility to who is asking what question. I will try to include the questions throughout the session, so please feel free to jump in and share your thoughts. But we'll also be dedicating a 15-minute slot towards the end, a 10-minute slot towards the end to a fully focused question and answer session. With that, I'm very happy to introduce the esteemed panel of fellow colleagues from Mathematica, RSPN, and SIR for this panel discussion today. Starting with Dr. Aga Ali Akram. He's a senior researcher at Mathematica, where he leads quantitative impact evaluation and cost-benefit analysis in public health and climate change, with a special focus on the agricultural and water sectors. Ali's professional and research experience is situated across the developing world, including Bangladesh, Kenya, Pakistan, Thailand, and Sierra Leone. At Mathematica, he serves as a project director for a USAID-funded water access and quality investment project in Uganda. He's leading the design and implementation of the model and analysis, and in addition to that, also a family planning project in Indonesia. With Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ali is currently working with two projects. One is a multi-country quantitative impact evaluation of a private sector agriculture program in Africa. And he's serving as a deputy project director for another market test of a nutritional supplement for pregnant and lactating women in Pakistan, where he's co-leading survey and analysis work. Welcome, Ari. Very happy to have you on board and looking forward to hearing your thoughts today. Next, we have Asif Saab, who is the Program Officer Operations from Rural Support Program Networks. With over 17 years of experience in the development sector, Asif Chanzeb brings extensive expertise in project design, management, and implementation, as well as monitoring and evaluation. His skill set encompasses conducting baselines and research studies, evaluating the impact of various program interventions, such as poverty alleviation, infrastructure, and social sectors, including health and education projects. Welcome, Asif Saab. And last but not the least, Sidra Bashir, who is currently the program manager for one of the projects in analytics department at Center for Economic Research in Pakistan. Sidra has over 6 years of professional work experience that's been aimed at improving sexual, reproductive, and maternal health in Pakistan. She has previously worked with a COVID policy response project, and prior to that has experience of working with UNFPA and Population Welfare Department. Sidra has a master's degree in public health from University of Edinburgh, and she is currently a program manager for the maternal health program that is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thank you everyone who joined us online and for all the panelists that we have for today. I'm looking forward to a very engaging discussion with you all. I would like to request if we can keep introductions for each respective party for about 5 to 10 minutes, where you can introduce the respective roles and the contributions and how things have evolved over time. The product that we'll be talking about today in the discussion has been launched since over a year now. And I would like to request Asif Saab to please start off by giving us an understanding of how the rural business model has been set up, and how there have been, what challenges have come about in the last 1 year, and how it has evolved based on the learnings. So Asif Saab, over to you.
Yeah. Hi. How are you, everyone? Okay. So the first, I will just briefly touch upon RSPN. Rural Support Programs Network is an organization formed in 2000 for coordinating the efforts of our partner organizations called Rural Support Programs Network. RSP's Rural Support Programs, there are 9 organizations, and they have been formed over the last 3 decades across all Pakistan. So now switching to the rural market test, RSPN is implementing this rural market test with 2 of its partner organizations, National Rural Support Program and Sindh Rural Support Organization, in 1 district of Sindh and 1 district of Punjab. The rural market test seeks to test the potential uptake and consumption of the balanced energy protein, or VELMA, as well as its impact on the nutritional status of pregnant and lactating women in the target districts. The modality is that it's sold through private channels, and it seeks to test that at a subsidized price of 30 rupees, and this would provide basis for determining the cost effectiveness of such an approach against a fully subsidized approach. So this product is provided at a subsidized rate to the end user, pregnant and lactating women. The districts were selected based on the RSPN's partners' prior presence over there, the nutritional status of the district, its population demographics, and an important reason was, and another important factor was the distance from the urban market test to stop potential leakages. Each district has a team of around 12 professional staff. Those comprise the district officer and the capacity building officers, male and female, MIS officers for data collection and data entry and reporting. The most important are community resource persons. Those community resource persons are community activists or individuals who are accepted and who have a sort of a prominent role in community at community level. So initially the project started with 25 CRPs, community resource persons, who visited door to door for door-to-door visits selling the product. Initially, in the first month, the CRPs would register the pregnant and lactating women in the assigned catchment area, and then they would visit door to door and provide awareness on the benefits of this product Velma. The CRPs were supervised by the capacity building officers. Female capacity building officers would be supervising them and guiding them on the wherever there was a need. The CRPs undertook meetings with the pregnant and lactating women, their extended family, particularly mother-in-laws, on the benefits of Velma, and would record their reservations and try to satisfy them. And they would sell the product to those women who were willing to purchase these. At the same time, the female supervisors were supervising the CRPs. At the same time, the male capacity building officers would be carrying out awareness sessions through RSPs, have community institutions, and they would raise awareness through husbands, religious leaders, and involved in discussions on the potential benefits of this product. So it was this model worked on the both level. CRPs work with the female CRPs work with the pregnant and lactating women and their extended families, and at the same time the male organizational staff would carry out awareness among the broader community, male and the society at large. They would conduct monthly meetings, and I don't think that we need to discuss the specifics of how the Velma product distribution and that worked. But overall, initially there were some difficulties of the outreach. There were some misconceptions which were gradually satisfied, and some data collection and reporting format problems, which Sidra would be talking later about. And gradually this process was fine-tuned based on the learnings. Like some at one stage there would be some problem, and gradually that problem would be resolved. So it was a step-by-step approach of learning. I would say learning, because it was a new concept that was introduced. So at the initial level, the sales were low. CRPs would be they faced data entry and data management problems due to their educational level or difficulties in understanding the format. So these were gradually resolved. Once the process was getting smooth, RSPN and its partner decided to upscale the activities. So in every district, they increased the number of CRPs from 25 to 100 on gradual basis. And this was done due to as the sales were improving. At the same time, they introduced some incentive packages for the CRPs to improve the sales and consumption of the Velma. I would just add some brief on the difficulties regarding the reporting and data collection and data entry. Given that CRPs are from rural settings, and though there were efforts to engage more educated CRPs, still this development sector projects have some sort of data requirement. So initially they face difficulties on collecting the information on indicators, recording them and reporting them, which were raised at project forums, and SERP very kindly collaborated on these things, and the process was streamlined. So I would stop here, and if anything, any further information, I can just provide that.
Right. Thank you, Asif Saab. So we've talked about how the CRPs that you mentioned, community resource person, who do sales visits, door-to-door household visits to all the people in the community. Can you shed some more light on what other mechanisms were put in place to increase the awareness or generate more demand in these communities? Considering that we've also had some floods last year, which affected one of our main districts and impacted the sales.
Yeah. Due to floods, the activities were also stopped for some short duration, and the regular operation resumed after receding of the flood waters. The sales were to improve sales. The different packages were announced. Uh, this included a loyalty scheme, basket of goods, and uh, incentive package for the CRPs. Testimonials of the users were also given to provided to the CRPs, who would show them to the end users, the pregnant and lactating women. So these would be touched upon later in more detail. But improve the sales, different packages were used, and we'll be discussing those in detail after later in the panel. You are mute, Hijab. You are mute.
Right. Thank you for that. Right. Thank you, Azar, for the valuable insight. I would request if now Sidra can share some of the measures that have been taken to improve the data collection and reporting in the last 1 year, and how that process has evolved over the last few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Jab. Thank you for the introductions earlier on. And we can start off. Thank you, Asasa, for the introduction on rural model. So for the past 1.2 years, SERP and Mathematica has been working as the MLE team on this particular project, which is monitoring, learning, and evaluation team, in order to observe data that has been coming in and in order to observe how the performance of the model is going on. So we've been working on we've been working in various ways to help out RSPN in their monitoring and evaluation of particular indicators. Monitoring data was coming in from multiple sources, where we were mapping data on prevalence of pregnant and lactating women. We were also mapping data on registration records and the site visits. And this data was entirely used to regularly populate a dashboard, which was to assess performance and allow understanding of pregnant and lactating women demographic characteristics. This was generated on a bi-weekly basis, and we were trying to understand the demographics of pregnant and lactating women who are visited by the CRPs, as Asasab was describing, that they make door-to-door visits. We were also looking at how many people are purchasing BEP, which is the Velma product that we're selling, whether it's pregnant women who are purchasing it more, whether it's lactating women who are purchasing it more, or whether it's the malnourished Mabras. We were also looking at the frequency of purchase by these particular women who were being sold Velma in this particular dashboard. So there were over 40 indicators which were showing us the consumption frequency, the total numbers that have been registered to date by RSPN, and the number of sales that have been made to each category that was being sold Velma. I would dive slightly deeper into the system of operationalizing the M&E process. So we were providing a two-tier support to RSPN. One was that the data was collected on hard copies by the CRPs. They were noting down, collecting data entirely on the hard copies. So the first step was that SERP was digitizing all that data. They were using initially they were using Excel sheets to transfer the data from the hard copy to the Excel sheets. The second step was that SERP was doing, in order to ensure that we can assess the performance of the indicators, was doing spot checks and data validation and generate data validation reports, in which we were closely monitoring the indicators in the pivot phase. So during spot checks, there were two different types of activities that were being monitored. One was the door-to-door visits that were conducted by CRPs, in which we were assessing how they are making the sales pitch, how are they checking their ledger, and how are the unvalidated sales check being done. The second part of it was assessing the village organization meetings, who collected CRPs in on different platforms on different dates, and we used to check how many participants were visiting those village organization meetings, oversee how many capacity building officers they address the concerns of community heads, which are the CRPs. We also assessed how the husband meetings were taking place, as that was also one component that RSPN was implementing, of engaging with husbands and male community to endorse the product and to ensure that they also know about the product, as they were the gatekeepers for this particular, as they're the gatekeepers for women regarding certain products that they have to buy for their health. Then we were also checking the number of participants that were taking part and their composition. The other part was by spot checks, we were actually looking at how the implementation of the meetings and the door-to-door visits was taking place. This helped RSPN to understand where do they need to improve, whether do they need to apply more refresher trainings, or do they need to assess the performance of a capacity building officer who was looking after the CRPs, or do they have to improve their training on recording data on a hard copy? The other component of it was data validation, where we were randomly randomly checking out hard copy reports and matching it with the Excel sheets to check if there were any incorrect number of visits entry, if there were any incorrect number of sachets sold entry, if there was any incorrect registration data that was entered, if there was a different status of the woman entered apart from her actual status, and if there were any missing records that were part of the PDS. For example, if there were 25 records in the hard copy,
I guess we've lost Sidra. Is that Ali? Can you confirm? Can you hear Sidra?
No, I'm not able to
No,
hear or see.
yeah,
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think I've
that's
lost.
okay. While we try to get her back, there's a question in the chat that I will open up for the current panelists who are live. Dr. Rafi, who is a consultant working with SERP on a nutrition project in KPK, has asked a question that if Velma was being sold through CRP, who is the community resource person, why was the private sector, such as pharmacies or other means, not used? Anyone is free to answer that question. Sorry, Sidra, we lost you for a bit, so we're just pulling in a question at the moment. And the question was that if Velma is being sold through CRP, why was the private sector, such as the pharmacies, not used as a means? So anybody who wants to shed some light on that, please feel free to go ahead. Maybe Dr. Asif, you can start.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Who's
Go ahead,
the-
Asif, please.
Yeah, I would just, I don't know how to what extent it would be acceptable to them, but given that Velma was provided at subsidized cost and it was a rural market test, at a subsidized, and it was supposed to, it basically was done to do a comparison that on the subsidized approach versus the full price approach. So selling through pharmacies, it would not have served the purpose. And most in rural setting, most women don't visit out to the pharmacies, or their husband don't go and buy such product. The thing that CRP was acceptable to the community because she was a member of the same community. She could provide information, she could extend awareness, so through a holistic approach. So I would say that CRP was used as RSPN strength is community outreach and acceptance in the community. So CRP is like our extended arm of RSPs. So it provided, in my opinion, it provided a better ground for testing this model rather than pharmacies. Pharmacies are working for profit motive. They are not working for not for profit setup.
All right, interesting. Thank you, Asisa. Sidra, if you want to resume or if you want to take up the question, that's your discretion if you want to continue with the presentation and if you want to answer the question first.
Sure, Hijab. I think Asif Saab has already answered the question, but what I can highlight for the audience is that rural and urban models have been set up differently. So in rural model, we haven't been observing how pharmacies have, if we store the product at the pharmacy, how is the public going to react to it? But in the urban model, we definitely have pharmacies as a source of buying the product, and it was also the healthcare providers that have been involved. So just the nature of the project has been that we have had a different model between the two types of districts. And definitely going forward, we can assess how pharmacies can be more instrumental in providing or in ensuring that more people consume the product as it will be readily available. Maybe I can move on back to my presentation that we were discussing about. So I was, I think, talking about spot checks and data validation reports. Is that where you lost me?
Yes, please. Yeah, we can continue from
Yeah,
that.
sure. So I was just near towards the end where I was talking about the minor level or the lowest level that we were going at in order to assess each indicator and inform RSPN if there was a data entry error or if it was something that was it was an error at the understanding level of the CRP. Based on that, based on the feedback that was provided, based on the reports that were generated, and based on the spot checks that were done, after assessing, closely monitoring those indicators, we were creating a bi-weekly dashboard, as I mentioned, and that dashboard had over 40 indicators mentioning each detail of how the consumption frequency was taking place, how the visits were taking place, and how the sales were being made to the different categories that we were selling Velma to. Here, maybe I can stop and maybe I can move the ball towards Ali. He can talk a bit about analytics as to what were the next steps after that particular step. And then I can come back to the evaluation bit that we were doing in order to ensure that how RSPN can further improve their program implementation.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, Sidra. Thank you, Asif. Thank you, Hishab. So just to take stock of what we've been talking about so far, Asif described this incredibly high potential model with locally based salespersons, the community resource people, going door to door selling this product, the BEP product, Welma, to women, to pregnant and lactating women. So there's this the base layer of action, like what's happening on the ground, and layered on top of that, as Sidra described, there a monitoring and a monitoring system was set up on top of that, capturing data from these salespersons, and this combination of this high potential sort of model of distribution and this monitoring system layered on top of it produces incredibly rich data. There's this thick data stream coming from this at the where we know sales by each salesperson for any given point in time, and how much Welma was purchased by a given woman in a given community. So there's this really rich data stream coming here. What can we do with it? So in essence, the banal answer is it allowed us to derive a lot of interesting insights and provide learning to RSPN specifically, and of course to the broader project team. There's a broader project here testing this. So we're generating sort of insights from this, producing insights from this rich data stream. There's a lot we can do with it. And just to sort of, before I get into what it is we can do with this. So in this layer cake, there's RSPN doing stuff. There's SERP, they've set up the monitoring system, and then at Mathematica we generate a lot of the analytics, right? So that's the kind of the third layer on this layer cake here. So institutionally, before I get into the kinds of things we did with the data, institutionally we have a lot of regular contact with the larger group that's RSPN, with SERP and the other partners in this market test, with the donor and other parties involved. But there's a lot of regular meeting. There's these monthly meetings, weekly meetings. There's lots going on. There's lots of ways that we have to connect and contact. So any insights we produce, we're able to share at these institutionalized sort of points at which we meet. And of course, there are other ways as well. There's we've established ways to sort of share data and put it in the right place, and so that somebody else can pick it up and make stuff, make graphs and visuals and their analytics from it as well. So institutionally, there's a lot of good communication and ways that any data and insights and analytics can percolate up to those who need to see it. So just to say that there's a lot of good institutional setup here, a lot of good communication between all those involved. Okay, so now we've got this wonderful data stream. What do we do with it? So I think there's this. I'm going to say there's 3.5 things, and there's a half thing I'll say at the very end. But there's 3 sort of big ones in my mind. So one is we get to. So let me say them so that I don't forget. At least the 3 main ones. We can track progress. Okay. The second is we can generate sort of insights to make adjustments. And the third is that we can just a kind of a refinement of the second, we can track results of specific events and actions. So we have an ability to really fine tune and track things as well. So on the first one, tracking progress, that's really important. It's important to do that. This project has ambitious goals. We have ambitious goals of what we want to do. We started out about a year ago, more than a year ago, sorry. And we started with specific ideas of how much of this we want to sell to our relevant population, to pregnant and lactating women. We wanted to sell 6 sachets per woman per month initially, and then we wanted to see if we get there. In about 6 months to a year, we wanted to be at that point, and then at the 1 year mark, we wanted to be able to get sell 10 sachets per month to each woman. So if we have goals like this, we need to be able to track them. It's important to sort of kind of read the temperature. It's like how I was thinking about how this is so important. When somebody's sick, you monitor their temperature. You want to see if they're getting worse or getting better. So it's important to take the temperature. It's important to know where you're going. Are we achieving the goals we set out to achieve? This is the obvious analytic output, right? Like, are we getting anywhere? Are we doing what we want to do? Are we achieving the goals we set out to achieve? So there's a lot of little and there's a lot of little nuances you can see in this. I picked out a visual from one of our all this material we produce, and I hope I'm allowed to share it. But Hijab, if you could please show us slide 14 real quick. If that's okay, if you could share that real quick, please. So I'll press the play button on me as soon as it pops up. Any things to fill this silence in? I should have prepared. I'm kidding. Anyway, as Hijab pulls it up, my point is just to what I want to show you is just a visual. Oh, here we go. Finally, here. So this look, the picture that you're seeing in front of you is just tracking. It's just tracking total sales over time. This is a very simple output from this. We have far more nuanced outputs that we get from this as well. But what is showing you is lots of little things. If you look at the middle of the picture, there's this little box that says floods. That's August of last year when Pakistan experienced some very devastating floods, and right there you can see immediately like sales dip. So you can track things like this. There's lots of little things that are going on, and we've marked a few more here. There's religious and cultural events that occur that change consumption. So you can see those things pop up in the monitoring data. So my point is that the basic thing you could do is track stuff. You can see, are we achieving the goals we set out to achieve? Okay, so that's the first big one we can do. So there's sort of analytics and visuals that we develop around that. Okay, Hijab, feel free to stop sharing at this point. If you we can stop the screen share. Thank you for that. Okay, so the second thing we can do with all this great rich monitoring data at such a granular level is generate insights to make adjustments. So this is as Asif set up for us earlier, this is new. We're learning as we go. There's lots of stuff happening. We've put plonked this product into a market. We're trying to see if people take it up. Are they going to buy this or not? How do our salespeople react? How will they? So RSPN is also trying to figure out what do we need to focus on? Where are pieces going off kilter? Where are they staying on track? So there's a lot of like smaller. There's a lot of finer information we can derive from all this rich data, right? We can compare subgroups. We can home in on specific locations. Spatially, we can home in. We can say, okay, this set of villages, like what's the sales over there? It seems a bit lower than the other ones. Why is that? So then you can start diagnosing problems. So you can start homing in on specific subgroups at specific points in time. That's a great value of this. In fact, so much so that RSPN in fact has a set of incentives for their salespeople that are built on this, being able to know what their sales were at any given point in time for a given period of time. What were the sales? How many times did they visit? How many sachets were they able to sell, et cetera, et cetera. So much so that we can focus on subgroups to the point where you can actually build incentives for individual salespeople. That's how finally you can kind of subgroup this data. So anyway, we can at a slightly higher level, we can generate insights on purchase behavior, on operationally relevant insights. Hijab, again, I'm going to ask you to share. If we could go to slide 16, please. So I want to show a couple of slides just to sort of highlight what I'm saying here. I think the important thing for people to take away is this idea of subgroups, of really being able to home in on things. And so, okay, this picture tells you, I know there's 4 panels here, so let me just try and quickly explain it. All it's showing is the number of visits per month that our RSPN salespeople are making. Each bar represents the total number of visits, and then the colored portion of the bar tells you how many of those visits resulted in a sale. More importantly, what you're seeing is you're seeing this data for lots of different subgroups. You're seeing it for people in one district, 2 separate districts, Kambar district and Bahawalpur district. These are 2 separate areas geographically. We can further split that. We can those are originally hired salespeople. We call them the old CRPs, and then there's the new CRPs. So you can really break this open and start to see, okay, so when I introduce these new salespeople, how are they doing? Are they able to convert their visits to sales or not? Do I need to focus on them or not? Which location is doing better? Which is not? The ones that are doing better, can I learn something from them? Is there something special that their salespeople are doing? Is there something special that is there something that we can port over to other sites? So you can really sort of subgroup by location and by type. So that's really useful. Hijab, could we go to the next one, please? To slide, actually slide 18, if we could, please. There you go. Another thing that we found. Now here's where having nearly live, rich monitoring data helps. We found this. What this graph shows you. It's going to be hard to sort of for you to see this, but trust me, it says this. What it's showing is that our salespeople were not visiting frequently enough. What we'd like is for our relevant population, the target population, the population of pregnant and lactating women who we're trying to get to use this BEP supplement, this Welma product. We want them to consume it often. In fact, ideally, we want them to have one every day. That's really good for them. That'll improve their health and their kids' health, their child to be born's health. So we want them to have. So we want to make sure that they have the best chance of consuming as much of this as they can, one a day. And what we found was that our salespeople were not going frequently enough to actually enable that. There was too much of a lag in one visit and the next, so they weren't able to at least give the option to women to buy more to be able to consume daily. So these are the kinds of insights. So anyway, so my point in saying these things is that these are the kinds of insights you can generate from this really rich data stream. You can focus on specific people and groups and say, what's going right here? What's going wrong here? You can find out operational insights like the one I just said and fix things. And RSPN responded. They're like, oh, yes, you're right. Like we can increase the frequency this way and that way. So there's responses you can do in a more immediate way as well. So I'll stop there. Hijab, feel free to stop sharing the slide. I'll stop there and hand back to you at this point.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for truly valuable insights into how the program has been evolving over the past few months, and how each party has played such a huge contribution to bringing it to where it is and to tracking the progress over time. We've spoken about how the model expanded from 25 to now 100 CRP per district. This is one sort of expansion. Can you speak, if I can invite either Asif Saab or Sidra to speak about how, in what other ways has the rural model expanded, and what are the dimensions? Asif Saab, if you can go first, and then Sidra, you can talk more about the monitoring parts of and the implications of the data that has come in.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, that based on the sales and the initial tweaking to the model, the sales are increasing, and it was the model was taking off. So it was decided to scale up, and side by 75 new CRPs were inducted in the program, and they were also they also started visit door to door, and on the same model. At the same time, there was another thing that senior CRPs and junior CRPs were also like there were 10 senior CRPs and 90 CRPs were junior CRPs. So this was another adjustment that was introduced at the same time. At the same time, there were, as Ali mentioned, that there was focus on many indicators. So the performance of CRPs was also improved through in introducing incentive packages like basket of goods. So of the initial 25 CRPs, 5 were provided a basket of goods, which included 3 additional products to Velma. And as the CRPs visit frequency increased, their income and their earnings also increased, and it also had a beneficial effect on the sale of Velma. So it was like recommended that we can scale up the basket of goods to all the 100 CRPs. There was another incentive that was provided was loyalty schemes for the PLWs who were buying. It was like the CRPs were informed, and a loyalty card was provided to them, which they provided to the women. And if they purchased 12 Velma sachets, 2 were provided to them free of cost. So it induced the PLWs who were consuming less Velma packets to increase their consumption, and it was incentivized to the PLWs. And in the same way, it was also it was given as a reward rather than a free product. So one way is that. And in the same way, 10 new CRPs were provided testimonials, a short record to those CRPs who had a smartphone, which they could show to the consumer, to the woman purchasing product. And the testimonials included a short video of a doctor who was explaining the benefits of Velma, and of a husband who was encouraging, like who provided motivational words for this use, and it's accounted for its benefits. So these were piloted, and as Sidra would be speaking on that, and their results were encouraging, like increasing the sale. It was interesting, and now it is recommended that these products are these pilots are scaled up, and Sidra would be speaking more, but
yes,
I would just
thank you for setting the background. In interest of time, Sidra, if I can request, if you can share the insights that there have been from these pivots, and you can speak how the data reflects those messages and those encouragements that people have felt to increase their sales patterns or not.
Thanks, Hijab, and thanks, Asisa, for explaining all the interventions that you have done in the past 1 year. I would just like to add here that monitoring data has really helped RSPN shape up their interventions over time. So, for example, they started off with their loyalty scheme. There wasn't any card that they were offering. There was just one scheme where if you bought 12 sachets a month, you were given 2 free sachets. But after looking at the data, we did find out that it had a very positive effect on the Velma consumption frequency among these pregnant and lactating women. And so it was a recommendation to RSPN that they could actually use a revised version of the loyalty card. Maybe it does not have to be very complicated. It can be a simple card with very nice images explaining the journey of a pregnant or lactating woman who has been using Velma since the past, let's suppose, a few weeks or maybe a month or so that her journey has been described. So it will motivate people or women who is the target audience to buy Velma. And it did have a very positive impact on increasing the Velma sales. The other one was that after looking at the basket of goods data, the women who were doing complementary baskets along with Velma in order to increase the sales for Velma, we found out that it also had a very positive impact on the sales of Velma. Initially, we thought that it is going to have a negative impact where people are going to stop buying Velma, but rather buy the other complementary goods. But data proved otherwise, and we were able to ensure that by providing sanitary napkins or pregnancy strips and soap to all CRPs, it also helped RSPN increase their product catalog over time, and it also helped increase the sales of Velma over time by looking at the data. So that is something that was very beneficial for RSPN in terms of understanding what exactly is working in the field that they can complement with the sales of Velma. The third component that RSPN implemented was testimonials so that they could motivate a larger audience in order to create awareness among them regarding Velma. And the testimonials, they have performed much better than average CRPs in Kambar Shadat Kot and somewhat equally in Bahawalpur. So for example, the capacity building officers and CRPs, they both show testimonials in these community meetings where there's a large number of audience, let's suppose 70 or 80 people gathered from one community who are looking at these testimonials. Testimonials are messages from these doctors which tell about Velma and they create awareness. So through data, we were able to see that if you provide current testimonials to all these CRPs, and if the volume is fixed, if the setup is all set, you can create additional, it can be a channel for creating awareness among a larger population. And it is creating additional videos which will become a need-based tool for, let's suppose, CRP. So basically using technology in order to transfer knowledge to a larger audience. And that is something that was very helpful because if we could not go to very remote areas, we could not invite a lot of guest speakers over there or a lot of doctors over there. So a good way was to use a technology tool, and data showcase that CRPs were also comfortable using it and they were comfortable showcasing it to the audience. And as a response, there was a positive response and influence on the audience that was watching these particular testimonials. So that is one also particular aspect that actually helped RSPN improve their program implementation surrounding these particular pivots. Ali, I have missed your slide of the graphs that you would want to go about. Maybe you want to go about them first, and then we can move to the next advanced step that we took in terms of technological advancement.
I'll take 30 seconds. In fact, Sidra, I think the priority should be the tech steps. I think that's really important. So just to say in 20 seconds that when I said earlier that I was going to say 3.5 things, this is part of what I was speaking to. The half thing is this, that, with this rich data stream, we can see kind of what the impact is of certain actions. So for example, here on this graph, what we're seeing is the impact of the loyalty scheme on consumption. And what we found was that suddenly a lot more women started buying 12. Because they were responding to the loyalty scheme. Why would they consume or purchase enough to get to 12? Is because the loyalty scheme enabled them, resulted in them, incentivized them to do so. So we started seeing that in the data. The thing to note, though, the interesting thing is that because we're in this data-rich environment, you can actually start thinking about things like A/B testing. You can say, you know what, I've got this lab, I've got hundreds of villages, hundreds of these salespeople across my operational area. Can I compare my loyalty scheme to something else, just like for example, the testimonials or the basket of good? So you can start thinking about like more advanced, interesting things like A/B testing in this data-rich environment. I'll stop there, Sidra, and hand back to you. Thanks.
No, that's great, and that was a very useful insight that we actually got from all these interventions, and by having so much data actually, which helped us, pave the channel for RSPN to understand how they can have more targeted interventions towards the target audience that they were targeting. So in terms of the next steps, so this was very good that we were working with these community resource persons who weren't very literate, and they were very enthusiastic about working, but they weren't very literate that we could transfer the entire setup. Like, we were still working on paper-based formats for data collection, and it was obviously a big deal. A lot of resources going into it, a lot of time going into it. That we're adding the data onto a data collection form, and then digitizing it, and then monitoring it, and then providing feedback, and then re-entering it, and repeating the cycle again and again. So there came up just maybe December year ago, we had a quarterly meeting when we presented this idea about how we can have a gamified app for low digital literacy women who can navigate through the app without without entering a lot of information, and they can just swipe through and enter information that will be in the form of a data collection form. We came up with that idea and proposed that to RSPN. As we were also expanding to other districts, the third district, which is Jacobabad, RSPN decided that they would pilot this particular model in Jacobabad before they moved on to their earlier districts that they were implementing since the past 1 year. So now we're in the So for these low limited digital literacy women, we created this app which will be managing registrations, which will be managing sales, which will be managing inventory for the CRPs, and in the form of a dashboard as well, where you can see all performance indicators related to the CRP, as well as performance of the sales to the pregnant and lactating women. The app is now functional, and we are launching tomorrow in Jacobabad, which is a big win. Let's see how it rolls out. And we're very happy to see the feedback so far from the CRPs who've been trained on it in the last 1 month. And they're working very hard to go out in the field and register women using the app. So as soon as we're looking forward to the monitoring data from this particular app and see how it goes about in the next 1 month and 2 months. And we'll definitely be back with another webinar showcasing the results from the digital application that we are launching in Jacobabad. So that is a transition from a paper-based format to digitized data collection, and I'm very hopeful that it's going to be a really great transition towards changing the entire M&E's landscape within this particular project as well.
Right, thank you. So we're right on the mark at 7 p.m. I would just invite if you guys have like 1 minute or 2 minute closing remarks to give, and if I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment, but if you have any questions, please feel free to mention it. I might be able to squeeze one in. But if you can just give 1 minute closing remarks, Ali, Asif Saab, and Sidra, and then I also want to remind that there's going to be a poll for the audience at the end, or it already is live actually. So please feel free to suggest, and I will be launching it now. Sorry, there you go. It should be live for the audience now. Please do give us your feedback, and Ali, if you can take the floor and just share your 1 minute closing remark, please.
Sure thing. Just to say that I'm very excited about the one. We've shown that getting a complex but highly useful monitoring system is very possible in this low literacy setting. Even though these are highly motivated salespeople, they're interested and they want to do good things, so they took this on. They took on the monitoring system that RSPN and SERP worked together to produce, and it generated wonderful insights in that sort of I'll say old-fashioned paper-based style. But now the fact is that we've shown that you can keep pushing, and now with this digital one, I think the how live the information is, the data coming through is, will I mean, that offers a lot more opportunities. It offers all these opportunities to experiment as well. We can see operationally what works better or not, the kinds of incentives you can, this digital platform allows so much more potential as well. So yeah, it's been a really steady and wonderful evolution from showing that we can do this and then now evolving it to this digital platform with so much more potential. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Asif Saab, do you want to go next, please?
I would just second Ali and say that RSPN has been working with community development and poverty alleviation projects for a long time. This was a new venture and exciting as well. And as the say that using evidence to roll out a nutrition program. So it was a learning process for us as well, like mutual learning. I would say mutual learning, and we learned many things. We utilized those lessons from there, and we tweaked the program. And as Ali said, that now we are looking at a new horizon. Like we'll be launching a digital version for this low literacy women, and yes, they are the star work for Salesforce in those districts. So fingers crossed, and hoping for success of this digital version of digitalization of this Salesforce.
Thank you, Asif Saab. Sidra, closing remarks, please.
Thank you, Jab. I would like to echo what Ali and Asif have already said, but I would also like to shed light on the tripartite partnership that we've shared in the past 1 year between SERP, RSPN, and Mathematica in order to do multiple rounds of monitoring feedback loops to improve the program implementation over time, which is like initially the pivot phase, the 6 months where we were doing weekly reporting, then we moved on to bi-weekly reporting, and now we're moving on to a monthly reporting system and also to a digital platform. So I would really like to add that, having these partnerships and exchange of knowledge between these partnerships is really helpful in improving program implementation across different districts at a national level, at a local level. And this tripartite partnership has been different in a way that it has been a local and a global partnership. And it hasn't had all local partners. It has had a global partner as well and local partners as well. So I feel like the model that we have adopted has been very successful in ensuring that we have a very strong and strengthened program implemented over the past 1 year. So maybe that's a great learning from this entire project.
Right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for sharing all the insights, all the learnings, all the different ways respective organizations have contributed to the success of the program thus far, and for sharing what the next steps look like, because we've already seen how incorporating digital aspect into this whole structure has improved the structure's strength by the introduction of testimonials that Asif Sidra talked about in detail, and then Ali shared the data to strengthen that argument. And the future is unlimited with the incorporation of the app, and hopefully the app, as you mentioned, would be added to one district for now and could be expanded into the other districts that we have as part of the program. I would like to thank you all for being a part of the session today, and for all the participants who joined us online. I would remind everybody, if they have not filled the feedback poll, please do so before you exit the session. And thank you for being a part of the session today.